You know that feeling you get, that little knot in your stomach when you're watching the news? That's what we're going to dig into, because it raises a really interesting question. Every time you feel afraid, who exactly is benefiting?
Yeah, that's the feeling. You're scrolling through your phone, and it's just one crisis after another, after another. There's this constant low-level hum of anxiety that just never seems to quit. It's so common now, it's almost like background noise, isn't it?
So, here's the core idea we're exploring. Your fear? It's not just a random accident. For every big wave of public panic, there is someone, somewhere, who is perfectly calm. They're prepared, and they're benefiting, because maybe they saw it coming. Or maybe they even helped it along.
All right, so let's start with a kind of wild idea. What if the fears that really drive us aren't natural at all? What if they're taught?
Now look, we're not talking about the kind of fear you feel if a bear walks into your campsite. That's real, that's instinct. We're talking about those nagging, persistent anxieties that kind of shape our day-to-day lives. They don't just pop up out of nowhere. It's more like they're seeds planted and watered until we can't imagine life without them. I mean, think about it. We are taught to be terrified of being poor, taught to fear what might happen when we die, taught to dread getting sick or failing, or even just what other people think of us. Right from the get-go, these fears are wired into us to get us to behave in a certain way. And why? Why teach these fears? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. A population that's afraid is a population that's obedient. When you're scared of the alternative, you don't rock the boat. You just follow the rules. You become predictable.
And fear makes people predictable. It also creates something way more valuable: profit. So yeah, let's talk about the business of anxiety.
Just look at how this cycle works. When we get scared, what happens? We watch more news, desperate to figure out what's going on. We buy more things that promise us safety. We tend to obey instructions a lot faster. And maybe, most importantly, we start to question things a whole lot less.
And you can see entire industries built around this. The news media needs a crisis to keep you watching. Politics pretty much runs on making you afraid of the other side. Insurance, pharma companies, they literally sell products designed to calm your fear of disaster or sickness. Their entire bottom line can depend on you staying just a little bit anxious.
It all boils down to this quote: fear is a business model. Just think about that for a second. When an emotion can be packaged and used to make people buy or vote or just obey, it stops being just a feeling. It becomes a product. It's a strategy. Okay, so we know fear is a tool for control and profit. But how does it actually work on us? Like, what's the psychological trick happening in our own minds that makes it so powerful?
This is the key. Fear flips a switch in your brain and kicks it into survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, there is absolutely no room for curiosity. Asking why feels risky. Questioning the official story feels dangerous. Your brain isn't looking for answers, it's looking for safety.
And here's the crazy part. If you hear these fear-based messages enough, they stop being someone else's voice and they start to feel like your own. It just becomes common sense. So the obedience it creates doesn't feel like you're being controlled. It feels like you're just being smart and protecting yourself.
And this is the quiet deal we make without even realizing it. We trade away some really big things: our freedom, our curiosity, even our courage. And in exchange, we get this temporary hit of safety, this feeling of approval from the group. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. That protection fear seems to promise, it's usually just an illusion. The only thing it reliably delivers is control. It puts your choices, your agency, right into the hands of whoever manufactured that fear to begin with.
So that brings us right back to our original question. We've seen the mechanics, we've seen the business plan. So who is really cashing in on all of this manufactured fear?
Well, think about it. When you're constantly worried about the next crisis, or your job, or your health, you start looking for someone to save you. You become dependent on institutions, on authority figures, and you're so busy being worried that you're too distracted to notice who's really pulling the strings.
And the answer usually isn't some shadowy figure in a back room. The real beneficiaries are the systems themselves. A political system that might need us divided. An economic system that needs us constantly consuming. These huge structures don't just use fear. In a lot of ways, they run on it.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty intense. How do you break a cycle like that? Well, the antidote is surprisingly simple, but it changes everything.
This is the secret. The whole system kind of relies on our silent agreement. The second you stop and ask, wait a minute, does this fear actually make sense?
And who wants me to feel this way? It starts to lose its power over you. Your awareness is its kryptonite. Now, just to be super clear, this isn't about ignoring real danger. Of course not. It's about learning to tell the difference between a lion that's actually in front of you and a phantom that was put in your head to control you.
Because it all comes down to this. Fear survives in silence. That's the key. These anxieties only have power as long as we don't challenge them. The moment we start asking questions, talking about them, we drag them out into the light, and they just start to fall apart.
So I'll leave you with this challenge. Think about one thing that makes you anxious, just one, and ask yourself, where did this fear come from? And who benefits from me having it? The answer might just change everything.